The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw Review.
Welcome, everyone, to Wrestling to the Max's Raw Review for February 27th, 2017. And we are excited to bring you this content via the W2M Network. That's right. If you haven't checked it out or go and subscribe yet, make sure you do that. Also, you can find us at just Wrestling to the Max. Go subscribe there as well if you just want the Wrestling to the Max and W2M product. Also, hey, don't forget to go check out W2Mnet.com. That's right. You can find all these great podcasts that would do all the great reviews. They're right on that site. It is available and ready for you to listen. Also, don't forget as well, you can go read a lot of wrestling stuff like reviews and other great content in the world of wrestling, plus other content. If you're a big video game fan, go check out the site. It's got lots of great stuff for you. Also, just want to let you guys know, I'm your host, Gary Vaughan. Of course, with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And Sean, we are without Paul tonight, so we are a man short on this Raw review, but I think we can kick it, and I'm excited to kind of talk about what we got. This is the lead up to Fastlane. So it's going to be cool. I mean, I'm excited. If Fastlane's coming right around the corner, this is the go home show for it, and we'll of course just to let everybody know, if you want to hear predictions, all the Fastlane predictions that myself, Sean, and Paul have to offer for you guys, you need to go check out this week Wrestling to the Max, our episode 2, our part 2 of our show on Thursday night. Of course, that'll be available Friday morning on the download. Just go check that out, and you will have all our predictions for Fastlane. But we got to talk about the Raw before we get to that actual part.
Yes, we do. It is, of course, as Gary mentioned, the Raw. Right for the last Raw, of course, you still have some connection to it with the 205 Live that's going to happen tomorrow. Hopefully, Paul is doing much better, so we can do it the regular way. But thankfully, we have Gary in case Paul is still feeling a bit under the weather. Hope he feels better. But for now, we get into this Raw here, and they started off with Goldberg, of course, to get that crowd going and everything else. With of course, it's going to get you to pay attention if you're just happen to be glancing and everything else. Goldberg, of course, kind of he doesn't really often just say a whole lot, but he makes fun of Owens from last week. Pretty much he's never made a promise, but he is going to make a promise that he is going to beat Kevin Owens at Fastlane and become the WWE Universal Champion, where he's going to spear Jackhammer and then go on to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Then, he even promises the fans, his son and his wife, that he's going to win. So we'll have to see what happens there. Maybe making some big promises he can't keep, Mr. Goldberg. But Kevin Owens comes out, and he's glad to know Goldberg is in a good mood. He, says that it's he's got to remind him that, hey, you're not just messing with any old guy here. I'm someone that's beat John Cena on his first night. I beat Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins. I've beaten Roman Reigns. I whooped up on Chris Jericho. It doesn't matter how loud people chant your name. I'm still going to win. And then, Goldberg wants to fight. Says, let's do it now. And then, Kevin Owens does his thing where he acts like he's going to be okay with it, but not happening. And I thought this was a good promo from Kevin Owens. It kind of sucks that we've had to wait until he was facing somebody like Goldberg so that they could finally get him off the goofy and make him be more serious. But I feel like they did it like a little bit too late at this point. I know that they didn't want to kill the Jericho and Owens thing too quickly because then they would have had to have too many weeks of trying to build that up, and that's fine. But, I like this Kevin Owens a lot more than the Kevin Owens that kind of just felt like he was an afterthought.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up because, we're getting to see the Kevin Owens that if you followed NXT at all, you know this guy. He's brutal. He doesn't care about anyone but himself. And sure, he portrayed that with Chris Jericho, but it was more in the comedy fashion. It really wasn't all based around, I'm just going to come out and do what I want to do, whatever I want to do, and I'll hold the title while I'm doing it. Now, a lot of that was that half, and then, of course, you had the other half of let's make jokes, let's talk about the list, and then, the other part was snarky comments, blah, blah, blah. So I do like the fact that we're getting these promos, and they're very good. Kevin Owens does a great job. I'm a big fan of his, so I can sit here and say he's not doing anything that I would perceive as lackadaisical or anything that people would say, oh, without Chris Jericho, he can't do it. No, he's proven right now he can do it. He doesn't need Chris Jericho per se, even though Chris Jericho did add something to him. He doesn't need him if he wants to get to another level, and I think he's doing fine. Goldberg, I think he did fine too here. I wasn't bored of tears with him. I think he did a fine job of setting things up and getting us where we need to go, and that's prepared for Fastlane for that big match. And so, we've heard him mention things before, but he kind of brought back up, his family, his son especially, things like that. So it kind of leaves that little thought process in the back of your mind of, man, Goldberg could win, even though, you don't know, but he's been, wanting to prove to his son that he can do all these big things. I don't know. Now I'm more of intrigued, I have to say that.
Yeah, certainly, I think that they did a good job of trying to dispel, I think, for at least us that kind of really feel like, well, this seems like a foregone conclusion that Goldberg's going to win. And I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is Jericho's going to cost Owens to kind of put that, knife in the back a little bit more. Or just revenge for Owens beating him up so that it's not just Goldberg whooping him, I'd assume. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they just build up Owens for a couple of weeks here to make him look like this just to have Goldberg tear him down again. But I don't know. I think you have a lot of story there if Jericho's the one that does something to cause, whether it's he shows up on the apron and causes Owens to get speared or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just a small little thing. That's all that matters at this point for that.
Exactly. So, I like you said, it doesn't have to be anything huge, but right now we're getting a chance to see Kevin Owens at a major point right now, especially since let's just say he does lose to Goldberg. At least we will have an opportunity to see him do something like this before going to WrestleMania and getting kind of lowered on the card. Because if he does face against Chris Jericho, he's definitely not going to be in that top spot. So, we'll have to see, though. This, like I said, it adds intrigue.
Certainly. Something that, I don't know that it adds much intrigue or not is the New Day being the segment after this. Of course, they just kind of just talk about their hosting WrestleMania and the ice cream and, all that stuff. They're going to wrestle the Shining Stars, who again are still doing the Puerto Rico with the pamphlets and all that stuff.
Oh, boy.
And, it's so basically, well, you think they're facing the Shining Stars, but the Shining Stars are going to wrestle later on the show. They wind up wrestling, Jinder Mahal and Rusev. And this was okay. It wasn't anything totally special. It got better towards the end, but still, you kind of feel like New Day are just running in place at this point because they're doing nothing. And, if you really care about the fact that they could be funny yet, and I should have said, and I know both Paul and I have been on the record to say that we aren't big fans of the whole having the host deal. I think New Day can make it work. Honestly, it's just it's such a waste of a title. But I'd rather them do that than shoehorn them into a match that doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have kind of voiced your displeasure, and I really am indifferent. I don't have a problem with it, but I really don't care if they never do one again. Hosting, I think, really kind of is a title for either guys like New Day, who are a part of the roster they don't have a spot for, but they entertain the crowd, and they know they're going to get big pops from the crowd. And it's also meant for maybe a celebrity that they can mix into the group where a celebrity doesn't have to wrestle. All they have to do is show up on camera. And as of late, we haven't really seen wrestlers, big celebrities really kind of play that role in big, But, the way this whole thing shakes out with this whole New Day segment here, I get it. They're trying to still do the ice cream thing. It's kind of entertaining, kind of really honestly not anymore. It's just kind of getting And
right, yeah. It's just one of those I feel like you're just doing this to do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, is this an empty promise? Are we never going to get those ice cream pops or whatever they're talking about? And then you also have the joke of, oh, sorry, Shining Stars, you're not our match. It's actually Jinder and Rusev, and this is kind of weird. And I don't know. That was stupid. Now, see, I didn't watch the Oscars. I kind of haven't watched the Oscars in a while. I know they were making reference to that.
I didn't watch any movies that came out this year other than Zootopia.
Yeah.
I'd have no reason to watch the Oscars.
Well, see, that's the thing. Me and you would miss the joke.
Well, Zootopia and Trolls. I've watched Trolls about 3 times now. But
there you go. So but I'm just saying, we may have missed the joke here because, we both have daughters. We watch those kids' movies, but nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
But
for me, if it's not like a Marvel movie or like Star Wars or what, I don't really care to go to the theater to watch it. So, and then we're so wrapped up in other things right now. I used to make many trips to Redbox all the time. Now it's really, really few and far between.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly. But see, then once again, there's a joke in here that New Day does with the whole envelope thing, and I'm either thinking, are they?
I did get that joke because that's what's funny is that at the end of the Oscars, you had the presenter accidentally say the wrong movie.
Oh, really?
Because La La Land, it's almost like a joke on of itself, and I wonder if it was somebody was trying to make a joke and it kind of just came off as almost like a wrestling angle or whatever, but La La Land had won a ton of stuff, not just at the Oscars but the Golden Globe, all those other award shows that come before the Oscars,
Mm-hmm.
And so they ran and made it seem like, oh, La La Land's gonna win Best Picture. Oh, but no, then oops, I read the wrong name. It's actually Moonlight that won. And so it's almost like somebody pulled a Dusty Finish. And it was like, oh, wait, this movie won, but no, wait, it was really this movie.
That's cold, man. That is cold. Oof, man, I would be so mad, especially if I was the people in La La Land. So see exactly right there. I didn't know that joke because I didn't pay attention.
And then it's another joke of apparently there came this backlash against La La Land because it's a musical. So, it was almost like, yes, a real movie won. So everybody was happy about it. And New Day is making the joke of whatever, who you really want to see the New Day beating up Rusev and Jinder or whatever.
Yeah, but see, this little conversation about movies and the Oscars is more entertaining than that match, for sure. We've seen this 100 times. It's not anything great. It's fine. It's just nothing super special. New Day wins. Okay. And, Rusev and, Jinder show a little aggression towards each other, but whatever. It's sad, but that's kind of the way I feel.
No, I mean, you did see Jinder and Rusev kind of get mad at each other at the result, so I wonder if that's going to be something, even though no one is going to care.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what's funny sometimes when they have these teams that, like, they're the, two singles guys that become a team for no reason kind of thing, and then you have them break up, and it's like, no one really cares that you guys are a team, and no one's going to care when you break up either.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So speaking of teams, Enzo and Cass, they're backstage, and Enzo, of course, is all hyped about getting a title match against Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows at WWE Fastlane. You're going to hear that a bunch of times on this show because you can't just say Fastlane. You have to say WWE Fastlane. Who talks like... Again, I love this pay-per-view because I get to make this joke. Who talks like that? Like, do we really have to think about the fact that it's a WWE pay-per-view? We all know this, right? You just say Fastlane. It's like, these writers, man, they just really think about just sounding like a common person. I don't know. That is so beyond them, apparently.
It's like, we wrote down this, we copy and pasted this into the script, and we just did it every time we had to say something pay-per-view. So now you feel like you got to say the entire title, and it's silly. And I agree with you 100%. I mean, that is so dumb. But, I mean, maybe Vince is a stickler. Maybe for some reason they have to have it.
It's a branding thing, obviously. They want anybody that could possibly be listening. Oh, whenever WWE Fastlane is happening, whatever.
Yeah. Good thing you said WWE. I thought it was NASCAR. I was looking for a
Yeah, I'm watching the Daytona 500 again. Yeah. With guys beating each other in a ring, but that's okay. So, they made. I love the fact that Cass brings up that they've never actually won tag titles. And, that Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows have won tag titles everywhere. And, Cass is going to face Luke Gallows tonight, and Enzo just keeps talking. So Cass is just like, all right, whatever. And then more tag teams because Cesaro and Sheamus are backstage. Samoa Joe shows up, and Cesaro and Samoa Joe start talking about their past. And how, Cesaro hasn't changed and Joe hasn't changed, that Joe is a desperate backstabber, and he's carrying Triple H's jockstrap. And then Sheamus kind of gets in the, in front, and Cesaro's like, look, I got this. Don't worry about it. And to kind of just end that arc of things, you do have the aforementioned Big Cass Luke Gallows match. It's really short. Big Cass wins. I guess it's their way of making the challengers look strong. It's a singles match. I guess it's okay. Sheamus whooped Titus O'Neil in like a minute. Because, they the whole time they were promoting how much Titus O'Neil was, we'd never seen him be this aggressive and all this stuff, and then Sheamus brogue kick and it's over. It's like, wow, I feel like we just wasted that entire time. That's a minute I could have been doing something else. But I get it because, Cesaro was set to lose in the singles match later, which that was a good match. I really enjoyed that match. That was between Cesaro and Joe. Of course, they didn't get to do, I think, everything that you would have loved to see them do here, but Joe got to look strong. Cesaro had to take a lot of knee damage to go down, but he eventually does. And also get the Big Show beating up the Shining Stars in about 2 minutes too, because hell, let's kill more tag teams. Why not? And even though we have no idea if the Big Show's actually going to wind up wrestling Shaquille O'Neal or not, because that match might be off. They're still going to book him strong just in case that match comes back on or something. But yeah, that's all your stuff with your tag teams and everything they had to do with what was going on with those guys. What do you think about all this here?
Ooh, I'll see if I can remember everything. There was quite a bit there. Yeah, I'm just going to really quickly. This doesn't matter. Big Show, that's what he's going to do, right? He's going to take out the Shining Stars, move on. There you go. You get a chance to see him look strong. I'm really curious, though, since we did get the news, that he's not going to be facing against Shaq. Who will he face? That's my big question. So that's what I'm excited about. But for this, it's just showing Big Show strong. Let's touch on Kaz, and that match. I think that he did once again. He showed he's great, he's big, and Enzo lost the last time, so it's only fair that he gets the win here. It makes sense. That's what they like. They like to have Enzo lose and him win. So they continue their feud. The one thing I'll agree with you is the fact that I did like that they mentioned that Enzo and Kaz have not won any titles, no tag titles at all. So now this kind of brings you to the fact that if they do win, this is a big deal. This is at Fastlane with them having a victory over Gallows and Anderson. It's important and it's special. So I think it's cool that they brought that up and it means something. I do want to say the Titus O'Neil thing. I think that was really stupid. Kind of hated it almost, but for a couple of reasons. You wasted my time, WB, with me having to sit through that. And not only that, Titus O'Neil, why is he even on TV? Is this just a punishment? Is he still getting punishment for touching Vince? That's what it feels like. He's still suffering punishment.
I really don't know if you gain, if you're really trying to do that whole crap where, he didn't lose anything in that loss because he was so aggressive. Really? If that's what WWE is possibly trying to think that, but we'll just promote that he was aggressive during this and that'll be okay. That'll cover him. And I'll be like, what? It just goes, what? I get it. You want Sheamus to look strong because Cesaro's going to lose. But it's...
It's just... Here's the thing. Titus O'Neil is on a streak of getting punked out. Everybody he talks to... He not only does he get punked out, but he's an outsider wanting to be a part of all these other groups. He can't do his own thing. He's got to be a part of the New Day, or now he wants to be a tag team with Sheamus or in an Irish thing. And it's almost like he's like this loser who loses all the time. And it's like a double whammy, if you want to say it that way. Yeah. I feel terrible for Titus because I know he's got talent. He has. He's not great in the ring.
Yeah, but his talent is not wrestling-wise.
Wrestling-wise. He's got a great talent, I think, verbally. I think he may be a better broadcaster if you wanted to throw him in a role like that. But, I think he has a role in wrestling if they really want to put him in there. But it's just... I feel bad for the guy.
I don't know. His role seems to be the ambassador, not being around the ring at all. So,
that's fine. That's not in the ring. So, I just feel bad for the guy. That's not what he wanted to do. But if he's happy, he's happy. The last thing, though, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
The last thing I want to touch on, because there's so much in here, I just do want to say you're right, Sean. This was a good match between Samoa Joe and Cesaro, and to me, they did an excellent job on selling the fact that Cesaro was injured, so he didn't have a clean shot to win this match. I'm glad that they didn't just bring him in here and then Samoa Joe just takes him out, right? I'm glad there was a reason.
Especially after they did a great job of building up. They have history and all this stuff too.
You just hit the nail on the head right there. I thank you for saying that because that's what makes me excited because now, Sean, I think me and you both can see a clear picture of these two guys will be feuding down the line. I don't know when, but since they do have that history and they pointed out that history, we're going to see it. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but it will. And I'm
sure Joe's going to have at least one more match with Cesaro on Raw. before WrestleMania,
Yeah, and that's fine. But I'm talking about a serious feud. I'm talking about something that runs for 2 or 3 pay-per-views. But yeah, I mean that's fine if they have another match with them. That's great. I love seeing those 2 guys work together.
Yeah, and then at the end we did have Sami Zayn come out and start attacking Samoa Joe, and even did a big dive to the outside on him and everything to look strong in that respect, as they made that match official, Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe, for the pay-per-view. I really like the way Sami Zayn came off there too. You're making him look like he can compete with Joe, and he's got a little bit of giving Joe back some of his medicine for attacking him.
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing new. We see this on regular occasions where the small guy gets an upper hand some way, somehow. But the one thing I will say is that Sami Zayn is the ultimate overcomer, right? And he's always able to find a way to come and get back what he is owed. And I think that's what he's trying to do here. And he's getting the upper hand on Joe before he does have a match. And this kind of finalizes that they're going to have that match at Fastlane. And this also proves that, Joe could lose, right? I mean, this shows that Sami Zayn is not stupid and he can find a way. So I like this, and this is going to be fun to watch, But they did a good job here.
Agreed. So we move along to other things here. Let's look at what they had the cruiserweights do on this show. Dang it. Hold on. I can't do that because we don't have Paul, so... so anyway, yeah. So they had Akira Tozawa and Noam Dar go against each other after they announced that Rich Swann and Akira Tozawa are taking on Noam Dar and Brian Kendrick on the Fastlane pre-show. And then, this match again is another Tozawa getting to look good match after Brian Kendrick got to have like a little pre-tape promo where he talks about, that Tozawa, he's still pissed that Tozawa didn't get to be his protege or whatever. Tozawa's still doing a good job of, trying to get the crowd involved. Just Green Bay sucks as a crowd. This is about the 3rd or 4th time that Green Bay has absolutely sucked out loud as a crowd the entire evening. And this happened again on this show. And, just almost all the matches suffered. No one really got a reaction. It was just a terrible, terrible crowd. So Akira Tozawa was trying with what he could. And then you also had a Neville having a backstage promo with Tony Nese, where, Neville says, look, I'm going to try to teach Jack Gallagher a lesson for making fun of me and the contract signing last week. Tony Nese is just worried about himself. And then Austin Aries also gets his video package again, which then Austin Aries gets to go on commentary and say, hey, how'd you like that massive package, Cole? And so... as we learn that Neville's going to, talk about the state of 205 Live on 205 Live on Tuesday, you get Tony Nese and Neville against CJ Perkins and Jack Gallagher. This doesn't last very long, but it is decent for what it is. And, the faces win.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say is Austin Aries, you're doing a great job of... just building up your character already just by, announcing yourself and all that stuff. I love it. It's just a proof of why I still love this guy and why he's still relevant. So I'm excited to see what he does. Tozawa, that whole thing going down is interesting because of the fact that you did see him try to get the crowd behind him. And man, Sean's pretty hard on Green Bay here, but that's fine. I mean, they really were... kind of an in-between crowd. They weren't really super hot for anything. But I think still Tozawa did a great job here. He excited you. If you're a fan of his, then you still are a fan, even though he wins his match, but really, I mean, we see him laying in the end because Brian Kendrick attacks him right after. So really, this is all about really Brian Kendrick and Tozawa. Both those guys looking good coming out of this until we do get to, the next step, which will be Fastlane. So I think this is great for both the guys, though, because once again, Tozawa looks like he is, unstoppable, and Kendrick's proving I'm the old vet, man. I know what's going to take you down, and I'm going to knock you down a peg. You think you're smarter than me, but I know the ropes more than you do. So I appreciated that, and I think that that's needed. And this is the kind of stuff that builds character for 205 Live and for the cruiserweights in general. So I appreciate that they did this on Raw on a big stage, and it makes a lot of sense. Happy with it myself. And then, of course, later on we get the tag match, and that's fine. Really, once again, I think what the central piece really is about Jack Gallagher and Neville and, Tony Nese, and, of course, on the other side, TJ Perkins and all that. They are really just the kind of the backdrop here. Nothing super special. They're just kind of thrown in here so you don't have Neville and Gallagher getting it on before they actually do it at the Fastlane. So, I do like Neville kind of walking out of this match, kind of not really walking out, but kind of just not really helping his tag team partner. That just kind of shows what kind of guy he is, and willing to take the loss because it doesn't really affect him in the end, right? He's not losing his title.
Just being a dick like he's been.
Yeah, so. But it doesn't affect his title, so why should he really care? And that's exactly what he did here. So I think the cruiserweights actually looked pretty good in the show. I think they were pretty strong. It wasn't nothing super special with a tag match, but I think overall you kind of saw more character out of these guys tonight.
Yeah, you did. They set up the two matches well, so I mean you can't really complain about that with the short time they were given. You always wish they could get more time, but it is what it is. That's why they have their own show, so they get real small amounts of time here. But they did not shortchange the women on this show. They gave Charlotte and Bayley and Wanda being Sasha as well a big, what felt like a promo segment in a match that went on for a while. Dana was there, but she didn't talk, and then we found out that the match actually includes Nia Jax, not Dana on Charlotte's team. But basically, Charlotte talks about, well, I thought Bayley would give her back the title since she's all about, being good and doing the right thing. And, she says that, oh, well, Bayley's normal like all the fans are, so of course she's going to take any chance she can to be women's champion. Bayley's a one-hit wonder and starts naming off one-hit wonders, even for some reason running down Aaron Rodgers. And then, which I'm sure, Gary was happy about. And then Bayley shows up, which it's weird to see Bayley like cutting people off. And then, even doing her whole entrance and then getting out there and talking. It's kind of weird. So Bayley's just like, well, just reminding you I'm the women's champion here. And that, before Bayley can really talk too much, Sasha comes out again and basically talking, they talk about how, Charlotte brings up the whole thing about Sasha getting involved, but once again, they don't talk about Dana getting involved in that match either, which is, of course, fitting. What heels do, right? They don't talk about when they cheat, just when somebody else causes them problems. And so, Sasha talks about Charlotte's daddy issues and all that stuff. And that's when we find out that Nia's the opponent. And this match was okay. It was sloppy at times. Especially when Nia Jax was in there, like she didn't know what was supposed to be happening. And Sasha also had some weird moments too. This match was kind of there. The promo also suffered from Charlotte's robotic craft really coming into play here. The crowd really got into it with the what at certain points here too. So, it just made this whole thing feel like they were going long for the sake of wasting time and not that it really needed it. And now the one thing I will say is they've set in place the 4-way that we felt like we've been hearing about forever. It seems like now they are shuffling those pieces into place here. And we do get another rematch between Sasha and Nia Jax made for the pre-show was probably. And Charlotte and Bayley, of course, for the women's title.
So I think we got that promo the part of this, the whole segment going, and I think everybody did a pretty decent job here. I really didn't hate it. I think that everybody kind of got their piece in. I know Sean kind of looks at Charlotte as being robotic, and yeah, I can kind of see that. The cadence in her voice is kind of robotic at times, but I think she still is the best on the mic out of anybody that they have, and that's even including SmackDown. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. But I think, what really matters here is that everybody gets the opportunity to have something to say that's relevant and also have the opportunity to look good and while they're doing it. And I think they do that great. Nia Jax is the only one who doesn't get to do it, but she really, I guess doesn't really have to.
She doesn't really need to be talking that much.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness for her. Because, she's not the best right now. But not only that, I mean, she's got another strong point, and that's her physical, strength, and she can take down anybody. So I think that you got what you needed out of this. And, Charlotte did run down Aaron Rodgers, which I did stand up and commend her. I mean, it was a standing ovation. But I did have the problem with the Brett Favre comment, and I got really offended, and I sat down.
Oh, man.
I got very offended because that was, that's the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, right there. But anyway,
can't argue with that. You on that one.
Yeah. So anyway, my point in all this is not about the Packers. It's about really talking about the fact that we got a decent match. It wasn't great. Sean was exactly right. It was sloppy at times, but they got through it. And if I'm going to knock anything out of all
this is one of those times where the crowd really killed the match, too. They just were never into this.
Yeah, that's the problem, too, like you said. I mean, when you have lengthy matches at all and your crowd's not behind it, it feels like it's about 10 years before it ends. And that's kind of that's the way it felt. And that's just a shame. It shouldn't have felt like that.
Well, I mean, it did go 12 minutes, which is weird for a women's tag like that,
Yeah, so. It is weird. But the only thing I'm going to knock here is you didn't get a chance to hear Dana Brooke talk. So I just got to hear that, like that Minnesota accent. Yeah, just the accent's cool. So, but yeah, that's about it for the women. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, we get the whole picture right here, right? I mean, this is the finality of we're going to go into this, and at the WrestleMania 33, we're going to have that 4-way.
Yeah, certainly. And I think before we get to the main thing that it was sort of the basis of this show, they also kind of, Stephanie McMahon kind of getting in Mick Foley's face and telling him that his days as GM are numbered and that, Triple H gets stronger every year while Mick Foley gets weaker and all this stuff. And that, throughout the show, Mick Foley is basically just either making matches, he makes the Samoa Joe and as Cesaro match, or he just listens to Braun get pissed off about winning a contract signing with Roman Reigns, which, that goes about as you would expect. Another week of contracts. For God's sakes, WWE, can we think of anything besides a contract signing to have a segment? I did again, like Braun and Roman interact well with each other, and they kind of played this off really well with Braun looking strong and all that, but still.
Yeah. The one thing, that I've always I got aggravated about this whole feud was, I mean, Roman Reigns, sometimes, is overpowering for Braun Strowman, and which he needs to look weak at some point. He can't look like he's, John Cena, right? He can't, have the opportunity to be the Ultimate Superman. But I just think that Braun Strowman is such a big guy. I mean, I'm a little unfair about it because I just want him to be almost unstoppable until he gets up to a certain point. And Roman Reigns should, if they're going to put him in the big echelon of he's up there with the guys like John Cena, he should kind of humble Braun to an extent, and which happened here. What I love about it, though, is they're proving me wrong every time now. Now they're starting to say, Gary, you know what? We're listening to you, and we're going to prove you wrong. We're not going to use Braun wrong at all. And that's what they did here. Sure, Braun Strowman was humbled by it felt, they only do one or two Superman punches, but I just get so sick if that's the only move. Sometimes, Sean, you play a lot of video games. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching someone play a Nintendo 64 wrestling game with Roman Reigns because it's like, what's the only move I know? Superman punch. Now do it again. Now Superman punch him again.
Keep hitting that special.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. It kills me. That's supposed to be what you just said, special. Do we need to define it? Vince, let's get you in this conversation. Special. Let's look what that means. Very rare. Something that's out of, unique. But anyway, enough of my rambling about Roman Reigns. I think they did a good job here. At the end of this, both guys look halfway decent. I think you get Roman Reigns looks good because he does, spear, Braun Strowman through the barricade. I mean, looks very strong.
Right, yeah.
He's an actual relevant. He's a big dog in the yard now, and he's going to take care of Braun Strowman. And at the end of this, he's laying. In fact, part of the ring breaks. The top ring rope is broken because of, Braun Strowman. So positive both ways. I'm happy. I'm looking forward to the match.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the match too. It should be interesting between those two. I really want to see that happen, and the two big hosses battling. That's going to be fun. So to get to the, what did you think of the? Do you like this sort of storyline of? I'm guessing we're going to get Mick Foley leaving as GM, or what do you think?
It's interesting you say that because I think that it's coming really sooner than later. And I do like this whole storyline of they're being very disrespectful to Mick Foley. And I love the breaking point that he has against Braun Strowman, saying he's a legend. Like he says, I don't care about the GM. GMs, they come and go, but legends in WWE are forever. And that's very, very true. And as much as I would love to see Mick Foley get physical, I know that's not going to be happening. That's the only letdown I have here. Otherwise, I love what they're doing. I love the whole teasing about, we're going to just treat Mick Foley like crap until he finally snaps. But there's no repercussions from it. That's the only thing I hate about it.
Oh, well, you mean for Stephanie, or you mean for anybody else?
Because Mick Foley can't get out there and prove himself anymore. He can't say, Stephanie, I'm going to, okay, well then put me against somebody. If you don't respect me, I'll show you you're going to respect me. That's not going to happen. So I think it is a clear exit for Mick Foley. I hope it's in a strong way, the way he exits.
I'm sure it will be. I don't think we have to worry too much about that, But to end things here, we did have the Seth Rollins something with Corey Graves where he gets interviewed. Rollins kind of talks about, man, this sucks. 2 years ago I was the champion at WrestleMania. I missed last year WrestleMania. I'm on the verge of missing this one. It's disappointing for him. He wanted to be 100% and be going into that Mania. Eventually Triple H comes out, kind of just makes fun of Rollins and says, look, Rollins, you're dumb if you show up at WrestleMania because you better know what's good for you. A lot of people on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else were hoping that Finn Balor would come out. I don't know that he's going to come out during this shoot, and maybe he will. You never know. And so I think at the end, Rollins kind of started off not so strong to the fact that you had the idiots in the crowd chanting CM Punk. And then when he closed and got right in front of Triple H's face and told him, look, I'm going to be at WrestleMania and I'm going to make sure that's the last thing you ever do. I thought that was great from Rollins. Triple H was good the whole time, as he normally is. But Rollins really delivered there at the end.
Yeah, what's most appreciated about this is they didn't just ignore this. It'd been very easy to sweep this under the rug and let's forget that Seth Rollins was ever involved and let's just move on. We'll catch him on down the road. We'll just kind of forget this whole. No, they didn't. And it has been kind of swept under the rug, but at least they brought it back to those of us who remember it and do want to know what the heck is going to happen. I mean, Seth Rollins, we're not getting any kind of like real legitimate updates. And of course, the feud with him and Triple H was just starting to heat up. So I like this for the fact that we at least get a little bit more closure to it. And we kind of know, Seth Rollins says he's going to be at WrestleMania. Well, that means he's going to be there. Wrestling at WrestleMania is probably not going to happen for him. I could almost believe 100% it's not happening for him, but it does at least give you the thought process that something's going to happen, and Triple H is going to be involved in some kind of incident. So I like that. I like what they did here, and I think it gives us a better picture. And not only that, Sean, it's kind of funny too. I mean, you saw how humbled Seth Rollins was over his injury and
Right.
just everything he's going through. I think you probably got a little bit of realism from him tonight too in that little promo segment. So I like that. Corey Graves is a great interviewer, by the way. My God. I mean, can this guy get any better? I just, wow. So
He's great at so many things. And I think that's what it was. It was a struggle for Seth Rollins of whether he wanted to be in character or he wanted to just be Seth Rollins for that first part until Triple H came back or came in,
mhm.
So what was funny is Seth Rollins had already turned his crutch around like he was going to hit Triple H and they didn't do anything. So I wonder if, that's going to come into play. And I saw some people, throwing around the idea of what about a Samoa Joe and Triple H tag match against Finn Balor and Seth Rollins where you don't have to have Rollins wrestle a bunch in that at WrestleMania, but he still gets to compete there. I wonder if they would consider that at all.
It's definitely a great thought. My fear is I really truly believe that Seth Rollins won't get cleared. I don't think that they will clear him at all because I really feel like this is a proof right here and what we're talking about to kind of set us up for the understanding that he won't wrestle. And that means that, we're going to be getting some new stuff heading into the WrestleMania event itself. But I do like that they do give us that thought process that he can be there. I just think wrestling-wise, it's probably almost out of the question. But if he could, I wouldn't mind the tag team match, although, to be honest with you, I'd rather not even see that. I do want to see one-on-one Seth Rollins and Triple H.
Very true. So that's going to do it for Raw on this evening here. What do you think for a rating, Gary?
This episode was a go-home episode. We get a lot of information about what's going to be happening at Fastlane, even past Fastlane in a way. I think for the most part, they kind of kept my attention. There were some slow parts, some things that kind of let me down here, but I think they kept my attention decently. I'm going to go 6.5. I don't think it was great, but I also don't think it was anything super, terrible either.
That's exactly where I was going to go. 6.5 makes sense to me. You had nothing offensive. The dumb stuff was kept short for the most part. The things that went long at least had some kind of story sense or whatever. And the Seth Rollins Triple H segment was, delivered, and I think that's what they were basing the show around, and you got that. So definitely thumbs up on that part.
For sure. So we want to welcome everyone to come and find us and find out what we're going to predict about Fastlane. If you want to know what we're thinking and actually who we're going to pick at that big pay-per-view, well, you need to come check out Wrestling to the Max's episode part 2 of episode 236. And that's going to be a fun show. So that'll be, of course, available on the download on Friday morning. And to go find that, once again, go to w2mnet.com. That's, of course, the place you can find all our great podcasts and, of course, written reviews and a lot more. Trust me, just go check out the site. Also, you can, of course, subscribe to Wrestling to the Max. That'll give you all of these shows, these Raw reviews. Of course, tomorrow night's SmackDown Live, tomorrow night's 205 Live. And, of course, later in the week, we'll give you NXT as well. So you don't want to miss those shows, so you make sure you go subscribe to both Wrestling to the Max and, of course, if you want, go to the W2M Network. That gives you a lot more content than just us. Other wrestling shows, also some sports like football and soccer and other great stuff that you're not going to want to miss, trust me, including video games. The video games podcast, actually, So you need to go check out those platforms. There are a lot of great content that you're not going to want to miss. So, but until then, we will see you guys later on, and we hope you have a great night.
Yeah. See you later, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.